Good afternoon and welcome to the regular meeting of the Climate and Infrastructure Committee for September 26, 2024. I'm Katie Cashman. I'm the chair of this committee. Before we begin, I want to offer a friendly reminder to all members, staff, and the public that these meetings are broadcast live to enable greater public participation. These broadcasts include real-time captioning as a further method to increase the accessibility of our proceedings in the community. Therefore, all speakers need to be mindful of the rate of their speech so that the captioners can fully capture and transcribe all comments for the broadcast. We ask all speakers to moderate the speed and clarity of their comments. Thank you. Before we call our meeting to order, we're going to do a short presentation in honor of Ted Davidson for his service and dedication to the city of Minneapolis. Welcome up. Ted, Joe, hi, good to see you.
Well, hello, everyone. We are here today to honor Ted Davidson. We'll go through the honorary resolution, and then I know that there are people here who would like to say a few words as well. So I'll start, and then I'll pass it on to Councilmember Palmisano, too, to share this. So, honoring Ted Davidson for his service and dedication to the city of Minneapolis. Whereas Mr. Davidson started his employment with the city of Minneapolis on May 12th, 1986, as a construction maintenance laborer and had a series of promotions to certified asphalt raker, maintenance crew leader, street maintenance and repair foreman, and for the last 18 years proudly served as the district street supervisor, managing all street maintenance south of Lake Street. And whereas Mr. Davidson comes from a family with a long history of public service to the city of Minneapolis and chose to be grounded on city streets rather than following his dad and brothers to the ladders of the fire department. And whereas Mr. Davidson is a proud graduate of Southwest High School and as a district supervisor had an enormous amount of pride for his service to the city and an uncanny awareness of all things going on south of Lake Street.
And whereas Mr. Davidson logged thousands of miles in District 5 looking at service requests, inspecting job sites, and meeting with contractors and residents to maintain his high standards for the district. And whereas Mr. Davidson led from the front and expertly managed District 5 street sweep, winter snow and ice clearing, street repair, and green spaces at the highest level in all weather and conditions. And, did you want to read the rest?
Whereas Mr. Davidson is a man of action more than words and was always ready to respond to any event or issue and led his team by example. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Minneapolis that the City Council, in recognition of the outstanding leadership and significant and positive impact Mr. Davidson has had during his 38 years of service, do hereby present this resolution with their most sincere thanks and appreciation and wish him much happiness and fulfillment in retirement on the golf course and with his family.
All right. Woohoo! I think we should repeat that 38 years of dedication. You're going to make me cry. But I do know there's a few people who want to speak, and I'll get in line as well. But so.
Good afternoon. My name is Joe Palman. I'm the Director of Transportation Maintenance and Repair in Public Works. I'm going to say something that I think everyone in this room probably already knows, but Ted Davidson embodies genuine care in everything that he does. In the 2.5 years that I've worked with Ted, I've seen him exhibit that great care in responding to the needs and the requests of our residents many times. Ted, your years of service to the city have been exemplary, and you're going to be greatly missed. A heartfelt thank you for everything that you've done.
Brian Dodds, Deputy Director, City Engineer. Thank you, Ted. Tremendous work, 38 years, a tremendous accomplishment. The city is a better place for you being here, and for the service you've given. So thank you and enjoy.
So I'll be brief because Ted is the man of the fewest words that I know and the most action. We even have had impressions that we would do of him in the 13th Ward office from time to time that would be about saying the least amount of words possible. But Ted was always there for us, and Ted has dealt with all of the some very difficult customers over time. We'll just say, and we know those people together. And Ted, you've been around a lot longer than any of us have up here. And I know that this is going to be a hard transition for you, but we just all came to show you our love today and how much we care.
Tim Sexton, Director of Public Works. Ted and I only had a chance to meet once, but I will say I feel like I know Ted because his name gets tossed around a lot in terms of how to act, how to lead, how to take care of work. And so your reputation really preceded you, Ted, and that says a lot. And you're doing really hard work for those 38 years, too. And so it's going to be a loss to the city, and I only wish I had a chance to get to know you better. But thank you for your service. You will really be missed.
And I just want to pile on the thanks and the gratitude, Ted. When I came in as a new council member, Ted was so helpful in helping me understand the true boots on the ground of what happens in public works and what your team does. Let me do a ride along, showed me how to fill potholes and help me navigate their entire maintenance center. And we had a really horrific incident in Ward 11, and it was Ted and his team that showed up with compassion for the community and the neighbors. And I didn't, in the moment, know what to do. And when I contacted Ted, he just did it. I didn't have to say any more. I could use very few words, and he knew exactly what I meant. And so I got an email, it might have been on Monday, I don't even know, Thursday, last week, and said, I just want to let you know I'm retiring. And I was like, what? And now I knew this was coming at some point, but again, few words. And so I'm, with emojis and when's the party? What are we doing? How are we going to honor you? And silence back. So I thought we have to honor Ted and the work that you've done and the dedication. So I'm glad to be here today to do that and show you how much we care and are so grateful for what you've done for the city. So would you like to say a word or two?
Not much. No, thank you. I really appreciate this. I don't know, I love my job, but it's time to go. And I'm going to miss it probably for the first snowfall, and then I won't, or the first call I get from Brian about Bryant Avenue. But it's been a long journey. But thank you very much to everybody, and thanks for all the people that came, Mark and Tina.
All right, thank you. Oh, and this is not your final version. It was last minute, so we have a nice version to get you printed. So just want you to know that. I'll drop it off.
Just drop it off at Harriet.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Ted. And thank you, Vice Chair Koski, for writing that resolution. At this time, I'll ask the clerk to call the roll so we can verify a quorum for this meeting.
Councilmember Vita.
Present.
Osman.
Present.
Chavez.
Present.
Chowdhury.
Present.
Vice Chair Koski.
Present.
Chair Cashman.
Present.
There are 6 members present.
Wonderful. Thank you. Let the record reflect that we have a quorum. I will now call on Councilmember Chowdhury to make a motion to amend our agenda.
Thank you so much, Councilmember Cashman. I'm going to make a motion to amend the agenda to include this legislative directive for an overview of street lighting, copper wire theft activity over the last 3 calendar years. There's a printed copy for members to take a look at. This has really been in partnership and collaboration with our Public Works Department in crafting and our City Attorney's Office. Been working on it since the top of September, and it's to just receive a presentation to really get an understanding of an issue that I know many of our constituents have reached out to us about, through and one about, regarding lighting outages. And I know our Public Works Department has worked pretty tirelessly to address this problem. And so felt important to kind of get a comprehensive presentation overviewing the issue and what's to come in the future.
Thank you for the crafting of this legislative direction. All those in favor of adding this to the agenda, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed say nay. Wonderful, that motion carries, and we are going to take this up with our consent agenda today. So, the consent agenda has items 6 through 10 and the addition of this legislative directive. Item 6 is authorizing a cooperative agreement with the Minnesota Department of Transportation for landscaping improvements in the Cedar Riverside neighborhood. Item 7 is approving an amendment to the cooperative agreement with the Hennepin County Regional Railroad Authority for funding bridges over the Midtown Greenway. Item 8 is authorizing a cooperative agreement with the Minneapolis Park Board for maintenance of the East Bank Underpass Trail Project. Item 9 is acquisition of permanent and temporary easements for the new Nicollet construction. Item 10 is authorizing a memorandum of understanding with the Park Board, University of Minnesota, City of St. Louis Park, City of Hopkins, and the City of St. Paul to jointly develop an application for vendors to provide shared bikes and scooters. Item 11 is scheduling a public comment period for October 10th to receive comments on a resolution supporting a plan for closure of the Hennepin Energy Recovery Center. And then I suppose item 12 would be the legislative directive authored by Councilmember Chowdhury on street light outages and copper wire theft. Any discussion on these items? I'll call on Councilmember Osmond and then Councilmember Rainville.
Thank you, Chair Cashman. I just want to make a comment on item 6, which is agreement with MnDOT for landscaping improvement. This is a site, a former house of balls encampment, existed here for a while, and this site has created some issues in Cedar Riverside, but now it's going to be a groundwork for children education garden. So just want to really highlight and thank the organizations, West Bank Business Association, Cedar Riverside Youth, Athletics Enrichment, Brian Coyle, and others that have worked to make this possible. We do have many MnDOT-owned lands that are vacant in our city, and I think finding something useful and creating some kind of partnership will be ideal. Cedar Riverside model is definitely a good model to follow. So I encourage our neighborhood organizations and others that if there's a site owned by the state, connect with us and figure out a way to make that site more useful. If that is a gardening and so on. So just want to make that comment, and I'm super delighted to support this item.
Thank you for those comments. Next, we have Councilmember Rainville. Thanks for joining us in committee today.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to come today to give a note of thanks to Dylan and Alan, if you guys could put your hands in there. You've been absolutely great to work with on the scooter issue. We've come to find out that the most successful part of Minneapolis is the scooter use along the riverfront, so that's become a park board as well as a City of Minneapolis issue, a Ward 3 issue. And you've been out in the community, you've listened to them, you've come up with some solutions going to this next contract. So I just really, really appreciate being present in the community like you have been and coming up with solutions. You are problem solvers. And I never in a million years prior to being elected understood how important public works was to the day-to-day livability here in Minneapolis. And you two are both great examples of the dedication of all the public worker staff. So thank you so much for your hard work, your smart work on this scooter issue. Thank you.
Thank you for those comments. I also want to discuss item number 11, Hennepin Energy Recovery Center, or HERC closure. So the agenda item that you see before us is opening up a public comment period, which will be open for 2 weeks and will allow community members to come and share their comments with us in person at the October 10th Climate and Infrastructure Committee meeting. And, you know, I want to recognize that the resolution that the council has written, there are, I believe, 7 authors on it now. And I know one of our other committee members would like to be added as an author. Councilmember Chavez, do you want to?
Oh, if you would allow me to be an author on this resolution, I would love that, Chair Cashman.
Yes, thank you. And I see Clerk Kendall is nodding on that one, so that's perfectly fine. So the resolution on HERC closure is uploaded on LIMS, and so it's available for the public to review. And with the opening of this public comment period, it's our goal to get community feedback on that resolution and to invite community members to weigh in on the resolution in person here in the chambers on the October 10th meeting. So does anyone have any questions or comments on that specific item? Councilmember Chowdhury.
Thank you, Chair Cashman. I just want to give a note of thanks to your office and the other co-authors that were part of putting together this resolution, and our Public Works Department, particularly Callie Kish for her work and support in crafting this resolution. I think that it is really important that we're moving this resolution forward. The closing of the HERC aligns with our city's 2023 Climate Equity Plan and demonstrates our commitment to sustainability and zero waste. We know that studies show incineration disproportionately impacts low-income neighborhoods and communities of color near the facility. I am excited that we're taking the step to put a formal resolution forward as we continue our discussions with Hennepin County and our initiatives around zero waste, both here at the local level and as we'll all go to the Capitol this legislative session to achieve some really important agenda items to meet that goal.
Wonderful. Seeing no more council members who wish to speak on the consent agenda, I'll move approval of items 6 through 11, as well as the resolution honoring Ted Davidson and the legislative directive that was added to the agenda by Councilmember Chowdhury. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed say nay. Any abstentions? Great. The ayes have it, and those items are approved. So next we'll take up the public hearings on our agenda. The first public hearing item is passage of a resolution ordering the work to proceed on a pedestrian flasher project at Hope Academy. Here to present on this item is William Prince from Traffic and Parking Services.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair and members of the Climate and Infrastructure Committee. My name is Bill Prince. I'm a senior professional engineer in Public Works, and I'm here to present to you the public hearing for the Hope Academy pedestrian flasher project and recommend passage of a resolution ordering the work to proceed and adopting assessment on the property located at 715 24th Street East in the amount of $49,760 for the Hope Academy pedestrian flasher, and also passage of a resolution requesting the Board of Estimate and Taxation authorize the city's issuance and sale of assessment bonds in the amount of $49,760 for the project. During outreach for the East Phillips Bikeway and Pet Improvement Project, Hope Academy contacted the project team and requested upgrades to the pre-existing flasher located mid-block between Park Avenue and Chicago Avenue on 24th Street East. And it was determined the flasher had been previously paid for privately by the previous property owner, the Phillips Eye Institute, and it was not in the project scope to upgrade this, and they requested Public Works find a way to help them pay for that. We worked with the Hope Academy staff through their attorney, and we developed an agreement to have them pay for the flasher upgrade through a special assessment. And also they agreed to a waiver to basically revoke their right to appeal and argue the assessment going forward. The waiver was signed by the property owner, and this was requested by them. And on August 10th, 2024, the City Council designated the project and set the public hearing for today, September 26, 2024. This concludes my presentation, and I'm available for any questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Prince, for that presentation. I will now proceed to open the public hearing. If you did not sign up yet and would wish to speak on this item, please come forward now. We do not have anyone to speak on this item, so I will close the public hearing and ask if there's any questions or comments from committee members. All right, seeing none, thank you very much for the presentation and all your work on this. I know pedestrian flashers are a huge asset to our neighborhoods, extremely beneficial for keeping our community safe.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks. I'll move approval of this item. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed say nay. Any abstentions? That motion carries. Our next public hearing item is adopting the assessments for sanitary sewer service charges. Here to present on this item is Steve Poor from CPED.
Good afternoon, Chair Cashman, committee members. My name is Steve Poor. I'm Director of Development Services in CPED. I'm here today because CPED works with the Met Council to administer and Public Works to administer the SAC program, the Sewer Accessibility Charge Program. The program is designed to collect money to pay for the sewer system, the ongoing expansion of the system as new businesses and residences come on with more demand on the system. This year, we have 22 properties that are being assessed. There is a total amount of $112,350.19. One property has, in writing, voiced their concern about that charge, so they reserve their right to challenge it in court. Most of the charges are coming from community review, which is another name for audit. So every 3 years, the Met Council will go back and audit city records to see if charges were missed. I would like to say that our staff works diligently to support the residences and the businesses in the city that to do the research to support their appeal of those charges. We're not very successful. The Met Council tends to say their audit is what the number is. There is also 8 charges related to a SAC deferment program. There is a deferment program for small businesses. It's been in effect for some years. Under that deferment, unpaid payments go to assessment. 4 businesses were closed, and 4 other businesses were being assessed for non-payment. So I would, the staff today would ask that you accept this adoption and move forward these assessments, and I'm open for questions.
Thank you for the presentation, Mr. Poor. I will open the public hearing and see if anyone would like to speak on this item. Please come forward and state your name.
My first name is Ghulam, and my last name is Chughtai, Chughtai. And the person before me, he explained that one person wanted to object on that one property, and I'm the owner of that property. And the reason I'm objecting on that because my property was right next to the MPHA property, and then they demolished that property. And then during that demolition process, they disconnected my line, which was going through their property, because as you probably know that in Minneapolis, there are hundreds of properties who have a joint sewage. And then in my case, they just assumed, and the city plumbing department, they have issued a permit to the MPHA on 11/3/22. And before that, I had an inspection request with the city at 5/25/22 that I will be renovating those properties. I just bought those properties. Before that, these properties were owned by one of the city officials, and then it was in a very dilapidated condition. The moment I bought it, they condemned my properties without giving me ample time to renovate those properties. After that, during this process, the two departments, city departments, were not talking to each other because I asked for the inspection request on the 5th month of the 22nd. And then I signed a bond with the city that I'll be renovating those properties. And during this procedure, they disconnected my line. MPHA disconnected my line, and city approved their permit. And in their own letter during the administrative meeting, they admitted that they thought that it was connected to the other property. Although they have seen that I have a connected line, but they disconnected it.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chugtai. I am understanding that, and Mr. Poor, if you'd like to come up and explain that your comments today are regarding our next public hearing and not actually this item. So I just wanted to see if Mr. Poor could clarify that.
Excuse me. Yes, Chair Cashman, committee members. I think the person who just spoke is really here to speak on the next set of assessments.
Okay, so thank you.
It's on the sewer line repair is what I think he's speaking to. So that property is not on the list before you.
Yep, great. Is there anyone who wants to speak on this public hearing that's in front of us? Okay, seeing none, I will close the public hearing and move approval of this item. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed say nay. Any abstentions? That motion carries. So our next public hearing is adopting assessments for sanitary sewer service availability charges. And to present on this item is Jeff Handelin from Public Works.
Thank you, Chair Cashman, members of the committee. My name is Jeff Handeland. I am the principal professional engineer who oversees the office that administers Public Works special assessments. By ordinance, city ordinance enables procedures for the city to repair or replace private water and sewer service lines upon request of the property owner to do so or failure of the property owner to do so, such that if the bill for the work is not paid, the cost is recovered through special assessments to the property owners. The process includes an administrative hearing where a hearing officer considers assessment objections and makes decisions prior to this public hearing, this formal public hearing at your committee today. The administrative hearing for water and sewer service lines repairs was held on the afternoon of September 4th. 3 property owners sent written objections, appeared at the administrative hearing, and presented their case to the administrative hearing officer. This included Mr. Chugtai. The hearing officer ruled that the special assessments for the appellants be levied in full. Public Works' recommendation is to pass a resolution and adopt and levy the special assessments. I will stay nearby in case there are any questions.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Handeland, for your presentation. And I will now open the public hearing and see if there's anyone that has signed up to speak on this item other than Mr. Chugtai, who gave his 2-minute testimony. I will open the public hearing on this and offer you to finish your remarks if you didn't on this item. Mr. Chugtai?
Yes. So now the city is assessing me that $28,000, although it was totally their fault. They didn't communicate to each other. A couple of departments didn't. One department thought it's going to be demolished. And if you look at their administrative hearing submittal, which they did that, in which they had admitted that it is they assumed that it is connected on the other side. So without doing their due diligence, they just disconnected my sewage line. And then they issued me the permit for code compliance, and I moved my tenants in. I was living in the lower unit, and for a whole month, we were without the sewage. And then I paid the tenant out of my pocket to go live in a hotel before we could reinstall the line. And that $28,000, which they are assessing it to my property, now they are asking me to pay that, although it was totally their permitting department fault that they, without their due diligence, they just disconnected my sewage line.
Wonderful. Thank you for your comments today. I will now close the public hearing and ask if there are any questions or discussion from committee members. Councilmember Osman.
Thank you, Chair Cashman. Can the staff talk about Mr. Chuktai's situation? I understand that the properties do share sewage lines. I actually just had mine fixed, and there was an old house behind me, and it's costly and frustrating for the residents. And this kind of process, public don't have the knowledge. The expertise do. He mentioned many things about the public housing. So what is the situation? Do you have any details of his information? Has there been any communication or any conversation with the staff with Mr. Chuktai?
Thank you, Councilmember Chair Cashman, Councilmember Osman. Thank you for the question. So, yes, the Mr. Chuktai did have a shared sewer line connection. The city does not allow new shared line connections because shared line connections often have problems end up being associated with them. Mr. Chuktai did have, like he said, discussions with city staff, including my staff. He did present his case to the administrative hearing officer at the administrative hearing, which is a little better form for presenting evidence back and forth. And the administrative hearing officer ruled that the assessment should be levied in full. Mr. Chuktai does now have an independent sewer line to the city main. And by appearing here and speaking here today, Mr. Chuktai has appealed his right to, reserved his right to appeal to district court, which is also a better form for presenting evidence and potentially having a judge make decision or make a negotiation.
Thanks, Mr. Handeland. Can you explain why he's reserved his right to appeal in district court by speaking today?
So I have some, I have assembled some facts that I present. Oh, Chair Cashman, I have assembled some facts that I read to the administrative hearing officer that I could go through if you'd like me to read some facts as I understand them.
Thanks. I'm actually just wondering about process, about how his speaking today in the hearing waives or reserves his right to speak in district court.
Oh, thank you, Chair Cashman. Yes, that's part of a process, defined by law, that in order to levy a special assessment of this nature, we have to have this formal public hearing in front of City Council. So we also added the step of the administrative public hearing because it's a better form. But now here we are at the formal public hearing, which is also legally required part of the process. And then in order to reserve the right to appeal, a property owner either has to submit their written objection to the mayor or city clerk in advance of the hearing, or appear here at this public hearing and speak in objection today. And Mr. Chuktai has certainly met those requirements.
I understand. Okay, thank you. I misunderstood what was meant by that. So because he came and spoke today, he'll be able to appeal at district court.
Chair Cashman, that is correct. I regret if I misspoke.
No worries. Thanks. Councilmember Osman?
And if we don't approve this item, does he still have to appeal it, or does it even go forward?
Chair Cashman, Councilmember Osmond, we cannot levy the assessment unless you approve it.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah, but it is a little confusing that Mr. Chuktai has a complaint that has not been addressed. And how many houses are involved in this levy? Is it just his house?
Oh, Chair Cashman, Councilmember Osmond, no, there are many houses, can't remember the number off the top of my head, involved in that have, vast majority opted into and requested their service line repairs to be funded through a special assessment.
Councilmember Chowdhury? Oh, Mr. Elwood, would you like to speak on that question?
Chair Cashman, members of the committee, thank you. My name is Don Elwood. I'm the Director of Transportation Engineering Design. Overview on process. When we make connections to our sewer and water facilities, that is on the responsibility of the homeowner or business owner to pay for that connection. They can do that by requesting us, the city does it, or when there's damage or those utilities need to be changed. There's a wide variety of where that situation comes up. Oftentimes, this is a benefit to the property owner because the numbers are large and they can put that, onto their assessment rolls. During the process, the property owner has the right to appeal to district court, which is then a process by which the court can decide the fairness of that assessment. I might be asking my attorney to step in at this point, but I want to make sure the process is consistent across all properties, and I think that's an important piece. So our recommendation from Public Works is to approve this assessment today and allow the legal process to take the next steps.
Understood. That's helpful.
I don't know if he wants to add anything.
Do you want to add
I
anything
was
else?
wondering if the
Okay.
attorney wanted to add it.
Do the attorneys want to add anything?
Chair Cashman, Mr. Elwood's properly described the process. They have the chance to appeal. They had the administrative hearing. The next step is to come either written objection or appear in front of committee, make their objection. And then once it passes full city council, if the assessment is adopted, they have their appeal process that's written out in state statute, and they would go to district court and challenge the assessment in front of district court. And district court has the ability to either approve the assessment or send it back for reassessment.
Okay. Thank you for that explanation, and I'll call on Councilmember Chowdhury if you have additional questions.
Yeah, thank you, Chair Cashman. I think specifically with this property assessment, it sounds like the tension point that Mr. Chugtai is alleging that there was a disconnection that was made unbeknownst to him, and then he's also stating in his comments that that there was also a point of condemnation after he had also purchased the property, and then he went into having a building where he had tenants and he had no awareness that the sewer line had been cut off by the city of Minneapolis, and now is going to have to pay for an independent sewer line. And I think that's the tension point, right, is that he is alleging that the city of Minneapolis took actions that prevented him from knowing that he had a sewer line that wasn't working. And now he does, but he's the one that has to incur the cost because of actions of the city, and I'm just referring back to his statements. So it'd be really helpful, Mr. Hanlon, to get those presentations of fact that you were speaking about, and then I have a couple questions also for our city attorney.
Okay.
Jeff, before you go, maybe the city attorney can go first to give Councilmember Chowdhury and the members of this council some additional information.
Thank you. Attorney Wolf?
Chair Cashman, Councilmember Chowdhury. The reason, and I just wanted to jump in, the reason we have the administrative hearing before it comes to this committee is so that the evidence can be presented to an administrative hearing officer rather than having a hearing here, and that has occurred. So at this point, the committee can either adopt the whole assessment and let it go to whoever wants to appeal it to district court can do that. But this is not the place for fact-finding. It really occurred during the administrative hearing. And then the next process in that process is to go to district court if the property owner disagrees with the assessment.
Thank you, Attorney. No, the public hearing is closed, so if you want to speak, you can speak with staff, maybe outside after we've finished this item. Thank you.
Sewage lines are under the easements, which are protected.
So I would like to, understanding the process a little bit better, I would like to move approval of this item.
I didn't finish my questions, Councilmember
Yeah, I just wanted
Cashman.
to make the motion to approve it, and then I'll come back to you. But just given that there is an opportunity to appeal through district court, and it sounds like that's the proper channel to do it, I'll make that motion, but I also want to make sure you can have your questions answered on this.
Well, thank you, Chair Cashman, and through the chair to the city attorney. Could you help me better understand then what is the powers of this committee in terms of assessment, and if we are not to ask about facts from the administrative hearing, how are we to make decisions for approval or denial of the assessment?
Thank you, Chair Cashman, Councilmember Chowdhury. This committee can certainly ask questions regarding the facts of that. However, the primary role of this committee at this point in time is to either approve the assessments as a whole or deny them as a whole. It is not able to factually pick out specific properties to approve or deny. Based on that, this assessment involves, as Mr. Hanlon noted, multiple properties in this assessment. So this is not just Mr. Chugtai's property in this assessment. There are multiple properties in this assessment that are involved with sewer line replacements and repair. The proper process is not, this committee is not a fact finder about what the facts are in this case from both sides. But if you do, there's nothing wrong with asking for more information just so you can understand the process more or understand maybe some of the facts that were submitted in the administrative process, knowing that you probably will not get a full summary of the administrative hearing because that is substantially longer than we would have today.
Thank you, that's helpful. I would love to hear the findings of fact just to get a better understanding of the situation.
Okay. Thank you, Chair Cashman, Councilmember Chowdhury. I'd like to just point out a couple things and then see if you'd like to hear more. One thing I thought, just sounding from your question, I thought you might appreciate a clarification of is that the city did not perform this work. A plumber performed the work. And the shared connections are between the property owners that share the connections. The connection to the main is, more the city's responsibility. I also wanted to get back to Councilmember Osmond that there are 101 water service lines and 74 sewer service lines. And so if you'd like, I can continue to read some facts that I presented to the administrative hearing officer.
Is it pertaining to Mr. Chugtai's case or just in general? to Mr. Chugtai's case, Mr. Hanlon?
Chair Cashman, Councilmember Chowdhury, these are pertaining to Mr. Chugtai's case.
Yes.
Okay, the property at 2108 16th Avenue South had a joint sanitary sewer connection with 2112 16th Avenue South. We believe 2108 sewer connection was cut off by way of a cure-in-place pipeliner installed by a contractor working for the property at 2112. I will provide a timeline for the appeal of the special assessment for the property at 2108 with the facts as I understand them. In 1879, the sanitary sewer service was installed for 2112 16th Avenue South for a single-family use. This service was also installed as a joint service with 2108 16th Avenue South, the property we're talking about here today. In December 2021, the property at 2108 was purchased by Cash for Sacks, LLC. On November 3rd, 2022, Public Works wrote a permit to cut and plug the sanitary service at 2112 16th Avenue South in association with the demolition of the building at that address. On November 21st, 2022, M&B Services cut and plugged the existing sanitary sewer service at the back of the walk for 2112 16th Avenue South. By March 23rd, 2023, a new building had been constructed at 2112 16th Avenue South by the Minneapolis Public Housing Authority. United Water and Sewer reconnected and installed a new cure-in-place pipeliner from 2112 to the sewer main. On April 5th, 2024, Sitchie's Water and Sewer was called to investigate a sewer backup at 2108 16th Avenue South, the property we're talking about today. Sitchie's Water and Sewer found the service at 2108 16th Avenue South was cut from its joint connection with 2112 16th Avenue South by way of a cast cure-in-place pipeliner via camera inspection. On March 10th, 2024, Mr. Chugtai submitted all the paperwork to assess the cost of an independent new sanitary sewer service from 2108 16th Avenue South to connect directly to the sewer main. Then on April 18th, 2024, Triple E Water and Sewer was hired by Mr. Chugtai to install an independent sanitary sewer service from the property to the main connection for 2108 16th Avenue South. On August 27th, 2024, we received notice from Mr. Chugtai that he wanted to appeal the cost of the special assessment for the repair and replacement of his sanitary sewer service. On September 4th, 2024, Mr. Chugtai attended the administrative hearing and presented his appeals to the hearing officer. Mr. Chugtai believes that my understanding is Mr. Chugtai believes that the city of Minneapolis is responsible for all costs associated with installation of the new sewer service line to his property. Mr. Chugtai argued that the lack of record keeping caused his joint sewer line to be disconnected from his neighbor. On September 12, 2024, we received notice from the appeals hearing officer that Mr. Chugtai's proposed assessment should be upheld. At the time of demolishing 2112 16th Avenue South, Public Works did not have a tap card or an inspection report of 2108 16th Avenue South being connected to our main. According to city records, the property at 2102 shared a sanitary service with 2104, 2106, and 2108. The city of Minneapolis does not allow new shared service line connections. Problems with service lines are often associated with the shared ones. Having one public sewer main to serve multiple private connections simplifies record keeping and enables the city to provide ongoing operation and maintenance that could have an effect on the public and other property owners, a role better suited to a municipality than individual property owners. 2108 now has an independent service line to the city main.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. And I'll just note for my colleagues, like, that was helpful context, especially in hearing from Mr. Chugtai some pretty strong, like, statements to get that clarification. For me personally, I feel like there's some more information that I would like to get in terms of understanding this process, and also having the opportunity for Mr. Chugtai to connect with staff or council members. If this was a motion to submit without recommendation, that's something that I could support, but a motion to approve for me at this juncture would be difficult to support. And I know that this is also tied in with many other assessments and we can't move them apart, but there's just information here that I feel like don't have adequate time to process, and some follow-up questions both for attorneys and Public Works. And also would like the opportunity to talk to Mr. Chugtai, and I'll just say the public hearing is closed, so there won't be any more opportunity to speak in this forum.
Okay, thank you, Councilmember Chowdhury. So, Mr. Handelin, what would happen with all the rest of the properties if we did delay this one cycle? Decision on this one cycle?
Chair Cashman, I guess you could approve this, some other time before we need to levy assessments to the county, which we have to do in early November.
Mr. Elwood, would you like to add any context?
Thank you, Chair Cashman, members of the committee. The fact remains a connection was made and costs were incurred. My recommendation is to approve this going forward. As to what was the root cause or what caused the disconnection, or who's at fault for a disconnection, or how that disconnection came about, that's exactly what the appeals process would be allowed us to look at more thoroughly. Because of that, my recommendation would be to move it forward today and approve it. Your question was, what happens if we don't, and could we delay it? We could delay it one more cycle, but I don't know if any more additional information would be known at that time.
Councilmember Chavez.
Thank you, Councilmember Cashman. I think I preferably would prefer the one cycle delay, and probably would recommend that a staff reaches out to individual council members so we just talk about this a little bit more in depth. I have a lot of questions, and I really don't want to ask staff all these questions that I have right now in particular. I'm not necessarily trying to vote no on this item today, that's why I think it's important that we just move a cycle, let staff communicate with council members if we can have individual briefings. I have just some questions that I'm trying to understand Mr. Chugtai's situation, but also just overall what this actually means for residents that weren't able to pay for their property sewer line stuff, and if we're going to be adding it to their taxes at the end of the year. But those are questions I want to get more in depth in an actual briefing. I don't really think I want to hash that out right now in particular. But again, I don't want to vote no on this item necessarily. I just really just want more information, and I don't know if I want to ask all those questions right now.
Okay, thank you, Councilmember Chavez. I'll call on Attorney Spohr.
Thank you, Chair Cashman, council members. Just a point of information so that council is aware. The assessment rolls must pass council by November 1st to be able to get on the assessment rolls. So that's really the deadline that we have going forward with these assessments.
So, Councilmember Chowdhury, do you want a motion to delay a cycle?
Yes, I would like to make the motion to delay a cycle procedurally. We're good to do that. I know that Councilmember Cashman had a previous motion on the table.
Chair Cashman, Councilmember Chowdhury, the motion is currently on the table, so your motion, Chair Cashman,
I can
so
pull it.
You can just pull it, yeah,
Yeah.
and then we can move to the next motion.
Okay.
Yes, so I'll pull my motion, and Councilmember
make the-
Chowdhury has motion to.
I'll make a motion to delay. And
Okay.
If you want a second.
Second.
And would you be willing to host a briefing with council members to explain the process?
Yes, Chair Cashman, I am happy to help however I can.
Okay, thanks. So on the motion to delay this item one cycle, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed say nay.
Nay.
Any abstentions? Okay, that motion carries. Our final public hearing for the passage of an ordinance relating to the electric franchise extension. Here to present on this item is Jocelyn Bremer from the City Attorney's Office.
Thank you, Chair Cashman, members of the committee. My name is Jocelyn Bremer. I'm a senior assistant city attorney, and I'm here to present on the request that council pass an ordinance amending Appendix D1 of the Minneapolis Code of Ordinances relating to the Northern State Power doing business as XL Energy electric franchise to extend the current franchise through April 17th, 2025. In October 2014, the city adopted ordinances granting to XL, its successors and assigns, permission to operate in the city's right-of-way. The ordinance is also set forth how the parties would, how the operations of the right-of-way would go, and also establish franchise fees that are to be paid so long as the franchise agreement is effective. Appendix D1 is currently set to expire on October 17th, 2024. If D1 expires, then D2, which is the franchise fee ordinance, will also expire. This would cause confusion relating to how XL will operate in the right-of-way and could raise issues regarding the collection of franchise fees. By mutual agreement, the city and XL Energy seek to extend Appendix D1 for a period of 6 months to maintain the current franchise terms and fees as negotiations relating to the new franchise agreement continue. I stand for questions.
Thank you for the presentation. We'll have the public hearing and then have a discussion and welcome questions at that time. So with that, I will open the public hearing on this item and ask if anyone wants to speak. If so, you can come up for 2 minutes. I don't think we have anyone signed up. Is that correct? All right, so seeing no one, I will close the public hearing and just offer a few comments here about why Council Vice President Chugtai and I are working with the attorneys on authoring this extension. So the extension will accomplish a couple of things. One, it's aligned the timeline of our agreement with XL with our agreement with Centerpoint. It will allow both XL and the city to take the time we deserve to renew our contract. This contract allows us to collect fees and fund our climate goals through the Climate Legacy Initiative. It enables us to have the Clean Energy Partnership dedicated to working together on clean energy in the city of Minneapolis. And given that the last time we negotiated this agreement was 10 years ago, we have the right to set new expectations with how service is provided by the utility in our city through this agreement. And I will mention that we had a Clean Energy Partnership Board meeting on Monday, and we learned that we as a city are expected to meet our greenhouse gas emissions reduction goals for municipal and city operations. And we have 100% renewable energy. We'll have 100% renewable energy in our municipal and city operations in just a couple of years ahead of schedule. The gas emissions in the commercial and industrial sector are lower in 2023 than they were in 2022, but emissions are still higher than our baseline year of 2006. So we're on the wrong track as it relates to gas. And with electricity, we're heading in the right direction, but we need to see greater progress on increasing renewable electricity community-wide, particularly through using cleaner sources for generating energy and accelerating distributed solar. So this 6-month extension on our franchise agreement with XL will allow us to better connect the agreement to the Clean Energy Partnership to have more mutually agreed upon set of goals, especially around service reliability for all customers, regardless of where they live in the city, and having cleaner sources of energy. And with that, I'll ask if there are any questions on this item or comments from other committee members. Okay, wonderful. So with that, I will thank you, Attorney Bremer, for your presentation and move approval of this item. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. Any abstentions? That motion carries. Our final item is, again, discussing the Blue Line Light Rail Extension municipal consent. As a reminder, we conducted a public hearing on this item at our last Climate and Infrastructure Committee meeting. It was then discussed in the Intergovernmental Relations Committee last week. Today we'll be discussing and voting on the passage of the resolution approving the preliminary design plans for the route and staff technical comments. So here to kick off this item is Jenny Hager and Meg McMahon.
Great, thank you, Chair Cashman. Good afternoon, committee members. I'm Jennifer Hager. I'm the Director of Transportation, Planning and Programming and Public Works.
Hello, Chair Cashman. I'm Meg McMahon, the Planning Director in CPED.
And today represents the first formal action step for the city in the municipal consent process for the Blue Line Extension project. I would like to thank the members of this committee and the full council for some really, really great discussion and engagement over the last few weeks. We've talked about how this project is not perfect and how challenging really this process has been, especially when we consider how fast the work along this realigned portion of the project in Minneapolis has gone. And I just really think it's important to acknowledge that. As we've discussed, the City Council really has three options to consider in response to municipal consent. The city can approve and provide municipal consent, or the city can disapprove and provide specific amendments to the project that would cause the city to withdraw its disapproval. What is before you today is a staff recommendation and a resolution to approve municipal consent for the Blue Line extension. The resolution is framed as yes, and. It's framed as yes, and, because there are elements of this project that still need work. Because there are commitments from our partner agencies that we really need. And because there are design changes that we are asking for in an effort to ensure that this project can be the very best that it can be to serve the people and businesses along the corridor. This project, which will invest over $1 billion in Minneapolis, will bring fast, reliable transit service to North Loop and North Minneapolis, and it will support the city's efforts around mode shift, greenhouse gas reduction, and equity. I do want to share some updates that have occurred since the public hearing on September 12th and the presentation to the Intergovernmental Relations Committee on September 17th. First, Hennepin County has approved a resolution that affirms their role and makes commitments to anti-displacement efforts for businesses and residents along the Blue Line corridor. Second, the Project Decision Board for the Blue Line project voted to approve the inclusion of the station at Washington and Broadway. This will be a 6th station in Minneapolis. And this station is not only necessary, it is beneficial because it will provide access to jobs and housing east of 94, and it will help to connect Northside residents to the Mississippi River, the Great River Road, and the Above the Falls Regional Park. And there have also been a couple of votes on municipal consent that have happened since as well.
So in addition to the public actions, there has been some, less formal activities that have occurred since the public hearing and the IGR meetings as it pertains to anti-displacement. So city staff and county have continued to meet with stakeholders along the corridor. Most notably, we met last week with the Faith Tabernacle group which had spoken at the public hearing, really very specifically to address their concerns and to start the process of looking at solutions for those concerns. Project staff believe that the impacts to Faith Tabernacle are great enough that their site could be acquired as part of the project. And county staff is committed to working with them to find an alternative site within the community. Additional work will be necessary, needed to coordinate acquisition of a new site and either renovation of an existing building or construction of a new one. And we have ongoing meetings scheduled with Faith Tabernacle to continue that work. The city and county staff are also working on a staff level memorandum of understanding that would lay out the roles and responsibilities as it relates to proactive acquisition and relocation activities along the corridor, really in alignment with the work we're doing with Faith Tabernacle, but there are also other properties that will be included in that. And then just additionally wanted to add that the Metropolitan Council did release their draft Imagine 2050, which is their upcoming regional plan. And that document was released for public comment. It includes a section on creating an anti-displacement framework. And notably in that, staff is reviewing that document, but notably there's strategy 2 that they have named, which prioritizes projects that support community connection and anti-displacement in their grant programs, is specifically something that we named in the resolution that's before you this evening, or today, is something that we would want them to take leadership on. And so I think that was promising to see that language in their upcoming released regional plan.
So today we do want to do a brief overview of the resolution. The resolution is organized into topic areas that you see on your screen. In our previous presentations, we noted that there were 6 areas of focus for municipal consent, but that these are by no means the only areas that need our attention and continued work on. So Meg and I will briefly review what's included in the resolution for those 6 areas of focus, but we'll also be happy to answer any questions regarding the rest of the resolution as well. Starting with the Lowry Avenue Station, the resolution focuses on the benefits of this station and expresses support for a station in this area. However, the resolution stops short of endorsing the currently proposed design, which includes an at-grade station with at-grade train crossings of Theodore Wirth Parkway and Lowry Avenue. The resolution describes the complex and sensitive nature of this location, which includes a regional park and trail system, Theodore Wirth and Victory Memorial Parkways, which are part of the Grand Rounds, and consideration of the fact that the Grand Rounds are eligible for the National Historic Register and that Victory Memorial Parkway is currently a state historic district. The resolution requests that the project office continue to work with the city, the park board, and community stakeholders to develop a mutually agreed upon design. Along the West Broadway corridor, the project will reconstruct West Broadway, 21st Avenue North, and the north-south streets that connect them. The resolution focuses on setting expectations for those designs, including a focus on safety, access, mobility improvements, parking, and amenities like improved pedestrian space, stormwater treatment, and greening. West Broadway is currently a high-injury street between Washington Avenue and James Avenue. Reconstructing this street creates opportunities for some much-needed traffic safety improvements. 21st Avenue will be reimagined and designed as a transit greenway with new sidewalks and a 2-way bikeway, along with space for greening. And for the north-south streets that connect the West Broadway commercial corridor with the future transit greenway, the city is looking for safety-focused multimodal designs. I also want to highlight that the resolution has a clear statement regarding design for emergency vehicle access and operations and compliance with the fire code. This was a big concern that has come up, and we want to assure the public that we are working closely with emergency services professionals and that the design of the project will fully accommodate their needs. This applies to all aspects of the design of this project, and this clause can be found in the section of the resolution called Project Elements. The inclusion of the Broadway and Washington station is stipulated in the resolution, And as we've already presented, this station has been approved by the Project Decision Board. This is a huge win for Northside residents and future riders of the Blue Line. We appreciate the Project Decision Board considering this request and approving it at their meeting earlier this week. In the North Loop, the resolution focuses on supporting new street connections that help to mitigate traffic pattern changes as a result of the proposed reconstruction of 10th Avenue to a transit greenway. The new street connections should include traffic calming and multimodal improvements and increase the safety for all users. The resolution also requests that the project office continue to evaluate options for access to properties north of 10th Avenue without negatively impacting the Twin Cities International School, and for the Salvation Army where there are details related to their operations that need further consideration. And the resolution calls for design decisions in the North Loop to consider and not preclude future opportunities related to the removal of the viaduct. And lastly, for the infrastructure piece, a critical part of investing in light rail is getting people to the stations. Unlike in other cities where the project will invest in park and ride facilities, our approach in Minneapolis is to focus on safe and convenient connections for people accessing the stations by walking, biking, and taking transit. The resolution has some specific requests for additional street reconstructions in order to improve last-mile connections and also encourages the development of bus rapid transit on Lowry Avenue in the near term. Improvements will include filling sidewalk gaps and reconstructing sidewalks with improvements to the public realm, making connections to our All Ages and Abilities bicycle network, evaluating transit service, including both existing and potential connections, and planning for future connections to other mobility options like scooters, shared cars, and mobility hubs.
So the resolution before you includes a section on anti-displacement strategy needs. It's divided into subsections based on agency. The resolution includes 10 items that the city has identified that it is seeking commitment from the county from. The county did unanimously pass a resolution earlier this week which directly addresses 8 of the 10 items which the county board has committed to. 2 additional items, specifically items that relate to funding the acquisition of properties that can serve as relocation spaces for displaced residents and businesses, as well as aligning existing programs and are developing new programs and funding sources that support anti-displacement needs. These 2 items are not directly named in the county's resolution, but are included as strategies in the county's coordinated action plan, which they have committed to lead in implementing as part of their resolution. Work towards proactive acquisitions has already begun, as staff from the city and county are meeting regularly to identify these priority sites and to move those forward. However, this work will need to continue into and beyond our station area planning work, which will begin next year. So it's important to think about the project being at 30% design as we move forward with station area planning, and that will run parallel with more detailed design on the project. We will learn more about what the indirect and direct impacts are of the line, and so additional strategy around acquisition will need to continue to happen with the county through that work. As more granular land use and first and last mile connection design decisions are made. So these are additional discussions that are ongoing. The resolution identifies 2 items for the Metropolitan Council. Commitment around developing incentives and strategies to prioritize the creation of affordable rental and ownership housing along the corridor, as well as aligning existing TOD funding and identifying new opportunities for funding that would prioritize anti-displacement needs along the corridor. As stated above, the draft anti-displacement framework, which the Met Council released earlier this month, does align with the city's identified needs in the proposed resolution. The proposed resolution contains 6 items for the project office. These include expectations for broader and more robust communication leading up to and during construction, as well as funding to the city to provide direct liaison services with impacted property owners, residents, and businesses along the corridor. The project has committed to these things. Sure. So As Director Hager indicated at the earlier, staff is recommending approval of the resolution granting municipal consent with these conditions attached. And at this time, we would be happy to stand for any questions that the community
Thank
may
you.
have.
Thank you for the presentation and for all your great work. I will see if council members have questions on this. Councilmember Vita.
Thank you, staff. Thanks for the presentation. I'm not sure that I have any questions. We've been meeting a lot, and I appreciate all the time you've invested in keeping my office and Ward 4 residents up to speed. You all know where I'm at on this. I don't think there's been enough engagement around the lorry stop. As it exists now, as what's proposed to us. Of course, there's been lots of engagement about the Blue Line, but I'm still getting a lot of questions about the at-grade stop, how people will get themselves to the hospital if they're, apparently we have a large amount of people who take themselves to the hospital in emergency situations and not just getting there in emergency vehicles. So like if this is the proposed route, how people get around that. I'm really still getting a lot of questions about the overall livability of this project. Is it going to improve this stop, I should say, not the project. People aren't really coming to me saying, I don't want this project in North Minneapolis. It's really very specific things, stops or, the anti-displacement, so it's not about we don't want the Blue Line on the north side. It's really more about specific stops and how businesses are gonna continue to function during construction and then after construction. There's been, since the last presentation that we had in IGR, I've had an overwhelming amount of people talking to me about what parking options would look like for West Broadway down near the freeway and down by West Broadway where the business corridors are gonna continue to be. I know it's gonna kind of start on Washington now because that stop was approved, but a lot of people are wondering kind of where, near 4th Street, is there an option for parking down there for people? And then down closer to Broadway and Penn, because there will be nowhere for folks to park once this project is in. We've gotten the safety vehicle stuff all cleared up. Thank you so much. There was, these conversations around fire trucks not being able to access West Broadway, and we've cleared that up, and I appreciate that. But it just feels so fast. It really does for people in Ward 4. This lorry stop in particular, people just don't feel engaged. Some people are just hearing about it because we've had so many meetings publicly about this particular stop, and of course it's our precious Grand Rounds. It's the historical Victory Memorial Drive that's going to be affected by this stop. And so I'm really trying hard to get as much information as I can between now and the full council vote. But I just can't, I don't know if there's going to be enough time for me to get the information I need and for Ward 4 residents to feel like they're being heard on this particular stop between now and then. I also want to say that I'm impressed with all the work that's been done with the park board around, how we're going to access the parkways at this at-grade stop. But people are people followed what happened with the Southwest Light Rail, right? And so Northsiders are we don't want that to happen to us. We don't want to be promised something and things don't work out in the same way. So on top of being extra cautious, I want to make sure that this is as perfect as possible for Northsiders. And this stop is a big part of how people access green space in my ward. So it has to be near perfect for it to work for us.
Thank you for your comments, Councilmember Vita. Are there any other council members who want to speak on this item? I do have some questions myself. Councilmember Osmond.
Yeah, mine will be quick. Thank you so much for your work. It's good to hear that Hennepin County approved that resolution for anti-displacement. I was looking at, there's so many documents. I was looking at, and I just want to double check the conversation we had with Twin Cities International School. The current plan will split the school in half. Was the language included that we talked about?
Madam Chair, Councilmember Osmond, yes,
Okay.
there is a clause in the resolution that talks about pursuing options that do not split the school's playground in two in cooperation and coordination with the school.
That's wonderful to hear. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Osmond. I did want to ask some questions about the specific groups who came forward at the public hearing 2 weeks ago and this relocation assistance plan. And I'd just like to understand the difference in the timeline between like federal relocation assistance that would become available to them versus the proactive relocation and purchasing of properties to relocate them to that you're looking into.
Thank you, Chair Cashman. Excellent question. So as part of the federal process, federally funded projects are subject to the Federal Uniform Act. They're required to follow as it pertains to impacts, direct impacts to properties. So as part of that, there will be properties that will need to be acquired either in part or in their entirety in order to construct the rail. The project has to go through this federal process, and so part of that is they have to complete the NEPA environmental review process and receive a record of decision, which is anticipated to occur certainly not probably before a year from now. And the project cannot begin to negotiate or talk to property owners about the acquisition potentially of their properties until that record of decision takes place. And the rationale for that, the reasoning is that they don't want the project to get too far down the road with negotiations that might prejudice the environmental review process. So they keep those processes separate. I think the challenge for the city and for the folks who are impacted by the line is that they could see the map, right? We can see the plans and you could see your property being impacted by those plans. But the project really isn't in a place where they can actively talk to you about that or start to walk through what that looks like at this point. And so I think that has been a source of frustration for folks who have been part of these conversations. The county as a separate entity or the city, outside of the project is in a different situation. So the county, through their regional rail authority, has the authority to acquire properties, not through a traditional eminent domain process, but through a negotiated purchase. And there may be situations where that is in the best interest of the property owner. So really this is about providing options for property owners. There are folks who may say, you know what, we just want to be acquired and we want to go through that federal process and that's what's best for them. And there may be others, particularly folks that want to stay in the corridor and might need some assistance in finding a location, that it's just going to take more lead time, some more time to work with them to do that than the project might afford if we wait a whole another year to start those conversations. And so what the county and city are committed to is working together to identify which properties those are, which are the businesses or the properties that from a strategic standpoint either should be required outside the project because if they're acquired with federal dollars, there's additional rules about how they can be reused. So there may be strategic acquisitions that relate to how we want to reuse the properties of the future and get those properties in public ownership so that when they're redeveloped after the project comes through, we can ensure maximizing community benefit, like through public parking opportunities, for example. So there might be strategic reasons to use non-federal dollars to acquire those projects. Or they may just be situations where folks just need more time and we want to acquire them and help them relocate outside of the project. So I don't know that we've specifically identified a list of who that is and who it isn't at this point. I think the idea is to be able to create some continued engagement so we can continue to talk to folks and provide them those options to kind of, what's the best path for them. And that's, I think, the purpose.
Thanks. That's really helpful. And just talking to Director Hager yesterday, I did mention, some of the groups that came forward at the public hearing, including Faith Tabernacle. It sounds like you're working with them. Also, KMOJ radio station was a group that's impacted on West Broadway that I've heard a lot about. And then I did want to ask as well about some of the properties along 10th Avenue that I don't think the relocation assistance is an option for them, but the mitigation aspect and also the maintaining access for them. So this includes like Salvation Army, Bassett Creek Lofts, 918 Lofts. Can you say a little bit about what those communities or what those residents on 10th can expect?
Sure. Thank you, Chair Cashman. So you're correct that there's no acquisitions that we're aware of, at least at this point in the property that would, this point in the process, that would be required on 10th, at least in that area. Through the environmental review process that the project is undergoing, they will identify what the direct or indirect impacts are to adjacent properties. So things like noise and vibrations would be one that's probably high on the list for folks who are going to be in proximity to the corridor. And the project will be federally required to identify mitigation strategies. So those strategies could include sound attenuation that is installed in buildings. It could include using different construction methods or materials in that section of the corridor that minimize sound and vibrations. It could include construction methods that prevent impacts to foundations or the physical building itself when that construction is occurring in proximity. So that will all be laid out as part of the federal process, and the city will have an opportunity to comment on those final mitigation strategies when that final environmental impact work occurs. So that's sort of another step in the process, is we'll review all of that. In terms of maintaining access to properties during construction, so that is an item that's of utmost importance, both to the city and to the project. And so the project is committed to maintaining that. The details of construction obviously aren't known yet, right? But there will be standards that are laid out in their ultimate contract with the construction firm that will construct the line, that will require communication and continued access. I will say that the details on 10th are still continuing to be worked through, and so Salvation Army specifically is named in the resolution around working with them, because I don't know that the final design that we're looking at now is maybe where it will end. I think there are some options to try to create more continued access for them that we're continuing to explore with the project.
Okay, thank you. The last thing that I'm glad Councilmember Vita brought up the Southwest Light Rail, because obviously that's Ward 7 is the largest, share of the Minneapolis piece of that, and it has been quite a disruption for a lot of people, and delayed and over budget and everything that we all know. So I just wanted to understand a little bit what some of the main differences are here, and see if my understanding is correct that the topography of this project is different, and so there's no tunnel like there is in the Southwest Light Rail project, which was the cause of the delay and cost overrun. But also that since that project, there's been a lot more accountability and role for Hennepin County on the project team as opposed to Met Council. And, do you want to comment on just verifying whether that is correct, or if there's anything else that's really different about this project to assure folks that they can expect some better accountability?
Madam Chair, members of the committee, I think you hit on a number of things that we know. With the Blue Line extension, there is this project decision board, which does not exist on the Southwest LRT or the Green Line extension project. The project decision board is made up of 3 Hennepin County commissioners and 2 Met Council members. And the topography is definitely different, and the currently proposed design of the project is different in that it's There are no tunnels currently proposed, although I do want to acknowledge that, again, at the Lowry Avenue station, we are stopping short of endorsing that current design, and there is already work underway to look at different alternatives for that station area in response to the concerns with those at-grade crossings. So, but the learnings that have, the region has realized from the Southwest LRT project will be incorporated into that analysis with the Blue Line project and any potential design changes there, so that we can be informed from what has happened already.
Thank you for that additional context on the project. Those are the questions and concerns that I've had throughout this process that I think you've just done a really excellent job of addressing in the series of presentations and public hearings that we've had on municipal consent. And I will ask if there are any other council members who have questions or comments. I see Councilmember Chowdhury.
Thank you, Chair Cashman. Just first wanted to start off by saying thank you for all of your work on this on behalf of the city of Minneapolis. I see that we have much of our team over here, so just thank you for spending all of the time and effort and going through committees, meeting with the project office, working with the county. I was really impressed between the public hearing that we had and the last climate and infrastructure, the amount of just listening to the community and bringing forward the issues that people name, whether it was about emergency vehicles, relocation assistance for Faith Tabernacle, parking, that you were able to move so quickly in addressing that in the next presentation and the IGR committee. That was really impressive. Also, congratulations on your work on getting that extra station. That is a huge deal. I learned about it a couple days ago, so that's a big win. And I understand we're at 30% of the design. I feel like it's been great to see within this resolution the language around working with the park board and making considerations about Lowry Station. And then I had the same question as Councilmember Osman about language for the school on 10th. So appreciate that. I was reading through Hennepin County's resolution as well, and I think the main question that I just have is we're making an ask within our resolution for the county to commit to funding relocation assistance and those dollars. And I see within their resolution, they are saying that when it comes to affordable housing, supporting businesses, they're going to be providing matching funds. Then I also understand that anti-displacement is matching funds. I'm hoping to get a better understanding. Do we have a certain agreement of when us as a local government is going to give matching funds and when the county is going to take on the full costs as the primary funder? And I ask that because I understand we're one local government, and when we have to give matching funds to every time that there's funding needed for anti-displacement, when we have many other local projects that we're taking on, that could be quite the burden. And I personally believe that it would be equitable for the county to take on a large portion of cost without matching. So just curious to know if we have a understanding or are forming an agreement in that direction.
Thank you, Chair Cashman, Councilmember Chowdhury. So those are, I think, excellent questions. And so as you know, the ACPP board has been allocated $10 million from the state. That does require a match, right? And so they are going through the process of identifying their composition. They're working on their bylaws. They're identifying priorities, and that board will continue to do that work to figure out how they want to utilize the funds that they have. We know that the $10 million and then with the match of a hypothetical $20 million, right, is not going to be enough to address the need in Minneapolis, let alone the entire corridor. And so additional funds will be needed. And I think this will be a process that will take some time. We need to figure out from the board what their priorities are and how they want to spend the dollars so that we can then get our arms around what the need is And then I think once the need is identified, we can go back to the county, back to the state, and start to work on filling those needs. And so that process will be ongoing. From the city's perspective, I do think that the match can look, and again, I don't want to predetermine what the board will decide to do, because it is a community-led board that will do that work. When I watch the work and I imagine how that could be, the city has existing programs and funding that support anti-displacement strategies that are in very much alignment with the priorities that have been identified by the board. And so I can envision a situation where the city is investing in businesses, properties, projects along the corridor, bringing our existing programs and resources, but aligning it in such a way that then becomes the match, right, for these projects. And so I think there are ways to creatively think about what that looks like. And I think at the same time, the city can look at how do we maximize and continue to amplify community's voice around what those needs are with the county and with the state. So I see it as a both and in terms of our participation and continuing to advocate for that participation from the county and the state. And really, I think letting the board lead that voice and that conversation based on what they see the need is.
That's great. Thank you for answering that question. And I'll just make this comment. I know that in the next legislative session and legislative sessions to come, and in the county's resolution, they said that they're committed to going to governmental and non-governmental entities for more funding for anti-displacement. And I know oftentimes with transit projects, counties oftentimes get that funding straight to the state, and I hope that there can be understandings made if funding goes directly to them, that a match isn't always necessarily needed for a local government to access it in the case of anti-displacement. Because as you said, we don't know how much this is going to potentially cost or how long it's going to take. And I just want to be thoughtful about how we have those agreements together, and I just appreciate your foresight and proactiveness in having those discussions already with the county. So thank you for sharing that.
Thank you, Councilmember Chowdhury. Next is Councilmember Koski.
Thank you, Chair Cashman. I'm just going to layer on the kudos to the both of you. I see the dedication that you brought forward, and I'm going to echo Councilmember Chowdhury. Every presentation that you came forward with us, it was more and more detailed, more and more visuals, more and more answers to concerns. It was quickly done. I am not sure that you have slept, so I hope that you get some rest here coming up. But I just, I think this is a really great example, and I know we have a new director here. I hope that he can see, too, that this is a great example of how we can center the community and first, and always have that into the center of what we're thinking about, and then adjacently work with all of our cross-jurisdictional partners and bring everybody to the table and making sure that their voice is there. I've heard this is not in my ward. And so I have been diligently listening to the council members that this is going to affect. We have Councilmember Vita here today. I've had extensive conversations with Councilmember Ellison. And I think that, we have still work to do. But we are moving forward in the right direction, and you've showed us an example of how we can say yes to something and also know that we still have more work to continue on. But you've proven that we have the right work ethic to do it together. So thank you so much for your hard work, and I am appreciative of it, and I look forward to continuing to work together on this. So thank you.
Thank you for those comments. I'll call in Councilmember Vita.
I'm just really having a hard time listening to a bunch of Southsiders talk about how great this is. And they're not talking to Northside residents. Listen, I don't want to blow up your process or anything, but this might be going a little too far with the this is great, this has been done. Just because people have been acknowledged doesn't mean they feel heard. right? Like, there's been some meetings that have happened since we've had those last presentations with Faith Tabernacle and some of the businesses, but people don't feel heard about this project. There's still, I don't know who my colleagues are talking to. I've only had conversations with Councilmember Osman about this project. So I don't know who else all the rest of these Southside council members are talking to. It's not me. And people just have a very, very different feeling of what they're displaying up here today. You all have done a great job at, trying to make sure that people at least have a voice, but people don't feel heard. Nothing has changed except for there's been slides acknowledging what we've heard in people's testimony. There has been no commitment of money or anything to these businesses in North Minneapolis for anti-displacement. There has been no changes in any of these stops that people are concerned about. There's only been conversations about what if we have an opportunity to change something. Since all those people came from North Minneapolis and came into this chamber and shared their concerns, there's been no changes. Has there been conversations? Absolutely. But people still feel the same way they did when they came here a couple weeks ago. And so, vote how you gonna vote, but don't try to make it like the North Side is just like all okay with this, and you do what you need to do, council members, but this is not like, people don't feel heard. People are still struggling with this. This is not easy. And if all you have to compare it to is the Southwest Light Rail, that's what you're gonna compare it to. If you have nothing else. These other agencies, yep, they've drafted resolutions and said what they're gonna do, but they're not out having community meetings, meeting with people. The park board is, but the county, they just drafted a resolution, but I still have people who are asking me, who is my county commissioner? Who do I need to contact? So it's a false narrative that something magical has happened since those people showed up here a couple weeks ago to voice their concerns about this project. As I said, no one is saying we don't want this at all. But people definitely have concerns, and they still exist, and nothing has changed in 3 weeks except for the acknowledgement of the concerns that people have, but nothing's been done about it. And if people say, oh yeah, I'll just take the lorry stop for example. The resolution, it's fine. What's stated in the portion of the resolution about the lorry stop is exactly what we're hearing. But if they come back and say the lorry stop is fine the way that we said it is at grade, we don't have any way around the lorry stop. The lorry stop is what the proposed says the lorry stop is. There is nothing that says we're going to change it. It says we're going to explore. When I got on the city council, I asked for folks to look at West Broadway versus Lowry. I was told West Broadway was the better option. Not West Broadway at James, but all of West Broadway. West Broadway starting at the freeway, maybe even over Washington and all the way down was the best stop. Somehow now 21st has been routed in there. I never saw anything that said 21st is better than Lowry. So people aren't trusting of this process. People don't believe that what is being said to them is actually gonna happen. Are people nice and wanna sit down and have conversations about it? Absolutely. But there's a lot of mistrust in this process, and they're not calling South Minneapolis council members to say, I don't trust this process. Apparently not, because they definitely are, they're satisfied with what's happening. I mean, it's just frustrating listening to people who I know haven't had conversations with constituents that I'm talking to on a daily basis or out trying to explain to what's happening here, that they're just so excited and, this is great. It's not. In North Minneapolis, it's not great. People are tired of feeling like this is gonna happen anyway, so we just have to jump on the bandwagon and get whatever we can get. That's not how things should be done in our community. We should feel good about it and welcome things, not feel like it's given to us and we'll just take it. So we better, this yes and feels like you better take it and speak up so you can keep a seat at the table, when we really feel like no and.
Okay, thank you for those comments. Seeing no one else who wishes to speak, I would like to move approval of the resolution today and thank Director Hager and Director McMahon for your presentation and for a good discussion today. So on that motion, seeing all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, say nay.
Nay.
Any abstentions? That motion carries. I would like to offer the committee, before we end today, I would like to offer the committee a motion to reconsider our action on the sewer delay by one cycle and propose that we move it forward without recommendation to full council and have our meetings with Public Works in the week before full council to get a better understanding of the process. We could always, take further action at full council, but giving us the opportunity to approve it this cycle and make sure that Public Works could get their assessments processed in due time. So that's a question before the body, and I'll call on Councilmember Chavez.
Thank you, Chair Cashman. I'm not opposed to this decision, but I would need your commitment as the chair of this committee that if briefings aren't happening before full council and if our questions aren't adequately answered, that you'd move it back to this committee.
Sure, that
Okay.
sounds good. Councilmember Chowdhury, do you want to comment at all on this motion to reconsider and then subsequent motion to move it forward without recommendation? Oops.
I think it would be helpful, Councilmember Cash, and I'm not opposed to supporting this either, but I think it would be helpful for the public. We just had a discussion out loud that there wouldn't be any time impact before in the record. So if that's changed, could someone from Public Works share if there's a concern about timing? And that's why we're taking on this motion to consider. I know November was mentioned.
Sure, that's a good question. We did hear that there was, a delay by one cycle wasn't a big time constraint, and just since then have received a message from Public Works Director about it. And so I'll call on Deputy Director Dodds to just explain what might have changed.
Good afternoon, council members. Appreciate it. This is Brian Dodds, Deputy Director, City Engineer. We talked to staff out in the hall after we had discussed this item. And while, yes, we could physically get it by November 1st, it makes it really tight for all the paperwork that needs to be done. And so we'd really appreciate this chance to get your questions answered in this coming week. And if we're not able to do so, you can bring it back to this body.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilmember Osman.
Yeah, I support moving this forward without recommendation, and in the meantime, that will hopefully give us a time to meet with the staff. And I see Mr. Chuktai who's there, and I believe this is my ward 6 is located. So thank you. I support that, and hopefully we'll sit down with the staff.
Okay, you have my commitment to organize the briefing and to work with Public Works staff on making sure that everyone who has questions can attend. So I will motion to reconsider this item. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? And then I will motion to move the item forward without recommendation to full council with a commitment to host a briefing in the meantime.
Second.
Thanks. All those in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. Those opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? That motion carries. Okay, thank you. So seeing no other business before us and without objection, we stand adjourned.